I'm Brian Case, the CEO at Fall River Rural Electric Cooperative, and today we're going to talk about electrical and propane safety. But first I'm going to tell you a little bit about Fall River Electric and its proud history. We just celebrated our 80th anniversary a year ago. We're grateful for that. It's been a successful run. And part of that success, it started in 1938. Some individuals and families got together. They decided they wanted to bring power into rural communities, and they formed Fall River Electric Cooperative in 1938. From that, humble beginnings, we actually now serve in 3 states. We have over 17,000 meters, and we're continuing to grow every day. Some of the things we're extremely proud of is that Fall River owns and operates 4 of its own electric hydro plants that produce about 18% of the power that we use here at Fall River. We also have some of the cleanest and greenest power that in the United States. Most of our power comes from clean hydro renewable energy. A small portion comes from a nuclear plant. But with that, 94% of our power is non-carbon emitting power. It's some of the greenest power around. We also have very low and competitive rates. One of the things we're most proud of is the staff and individuals that work here at Fall River Rural Electric Cooperative. They're dedicated to the members. They're known regionally for their expertise in the industry, and we're grateful for them. Safety has always been a high priority here at Fall River, and with energy around us everywhere, we just need to be aware of electrical energy and how to use it wisely and safely. It's all around us. It powers the schools we go to. It energizes the businesses and industries that we serve. It brings light to the dark. It's those nice hot showers that we enjoy every day. We want you to be aware and just be safe as you're using either electrical power or propane. With Fall River's commitment to safety, we'll now introduce 3 of our staff that will give you a presentation today. That's Ben Bollinger, Jeremy Banta, and JT Hill. Here they are.
Electricity is generated in a wide variety of ways. The burning of fossil fuels such as coal and natural gas to power turbines has been the standard way for decades. However, in recent years, geothermal sources, wind turbines, and solar panels have been added to the methods of generating power. At Fall River Rural Electric Cooperative, 88% of the energy we provide you, our owner members, comes from hydropower, which uses the power of water in a river to push the blades of a turbine to produce electricity. This method is carbon-free, renewable, and low cost. Combined with nuclear and wind, Fall River provides 94% carbon-free power to our members. Fall River Electric owns and operates 4 of its own hydropower facilities, 1 at the Island Park Dam, 1 on the Buffalo River before it enters the Henry's Fork, the Felt Hydro on the Teton River, and our newest hydro at Chester. Together, these 4 hydros generate over 15% of the power our members use annually. The remainder of our hydropower is purchased from the Bonneville Power Administration, which operates hydro facilities on the Columbia River, and from the Northwest Public Power Association, NWPPA. The remaining power that Fall River purchases comes from a variety of other smaller sources, most of which are non-carbon emitting sources. Fall River Electric sends this power out from 25 substations, over 200 miles of transmission lines, and down to your home or business via more than 2,200 miles of distribution lines. Fall River Electric's rates to our members are among the lowest in the nation, only 1/10 of a penny per kilowatt hour more than the average in the states of Louisiana and Washington. These state averages are compiled annually by the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Carbon-free power at low rates, combined with reliability and a commitment to safety, are the hallmarks of power supplied to you by Fall River Rural Electric Cooperative.
So what we're going to do is we're going to transform that voltage. We've got 7,000 volts. So now we need to transform that voltage into a usable voltage. And we're going to transform that voltage into 120 volts. That's what your phone charger, that's what your TV, that's what you use at your home. Our breaker box is set up with a couple different types of outlets here. We've got just a regular 240 outlet, and that's similar to what your stove or your dryer in your home is going to be, an outlet like this. And then we've got a smaller outlet, and that's the kind of outlet that you plug your phone and your fridge, your TV, things like that will plug into these smaller 120 outlets. We've also got a couple different types of breakers. This big one is set up on a standard breaker, and what that breaker does, it allows that electricity to flow until it reaches a certain point, and then it's going to turn off. The GFI breaker is set up to trip off really, really quick. We never want our bodies to be a conductor. That's where the injury occurs. That's where people get hurt. That's the danger. So that's why we keep the lines up. That's why we keep them on insulators. That's why we use our special tools. So as linemen, to work on the power lines, a lot of times we have pretty cool trucks. We've got bucket trucks, and we use them to get to these lines up high. But sometimes we can't get there. Sometimes it's on a pole that's a long ways from a road, so we've got to use our tools. Being a lineman, you got to be pretty tough, right? You've got to work outside in the cold. You've got to work outside in the heat. You've got to overcome a lot of things, plus deal with all of the hazards. So we're going to show you some of the safety tools and some of the equipment that we use. We're going to bring Cole in because he thinks he's tough enough to be a lineman. So Cole, do you want to come up here? What we're going to do with Cole is we're going to set him up in some lineman gear. So being a lineman, Cole, as we climb up these poles, a lot of times we can't get our trucks to stuff. So we need our climbing tools. And what these do, they strap onto our feet. They've got a little point on there. And what that does is it allows us to climb up that pole where those wires are, where we're up there keeping everybody safe, but we need to get up there and work on it, right? So Cole's going to put his climbers on so that he can climb up there. If you get up there climbing, Cole, do you need your hands? You got to have your hands. We can't just go up there and hold on to that pole the whole time. So what we've got is we've got our belt. And we put our belt on, and what it does is not only does it hold onto the pole for us, we've got safety straps and things that keep us on the pole, keep us from falling off. It allows us to let go and use our hands for work. But it also holds all of our tools. It holds all of our gear. It lets us get everything we need to do our jobs up that pole with us. Cole's got his climbers on. He's got his belt on. But we don't want him to be that conductor, right? So there's a couple other safety things we need. We talked about our rubber gloves. These rubber gloves keep us from being a conductor. We use our high voltage insulated stick. That lets us do work on those lines. You got your stick. We wear hard hats, and they're not just so that we can look cool. There's a couple other purposes too. We don't want anything hitting us in the head and getting hurt, but there's another purpose we're going to show you later on. If we have our glasses on, they protect our eyes. We've got to be able to see to do our job. So Cole's got his glasses, his hard hat, his insulating tools, and his climbers. You ready to go to work? You still feel pretty tough?
Yeah.
You look tough, buddy. Good job. So we've shown you our gloves. Now it's time to put them to use. So I've got my special gloves, my voltage rated gloves that I'm going to use to keep me from becoming that conductor. We never want to be that electrical conductor. So first, we're going to start with the GFI. And this GFI breaker is set up to trip in case something goes wrong. They're usually in your bathrooms or in your kitchen, somewhere where you could have water. Water creates a conductor that can be a hazardous situation. Did everybody see it? Just a little spark. We can do it again. The breaker is set up to trip really fast in order to prevent harm to your bodies, in order to prevent you from becoming a conductor. And now we're going to run a regular breaker. It's going to send a lot of current through this because it's got to run a big electrical appliance like your stove or your dryer. So it's set up to not trip as fast. It's really hot, it's burning that metal, but it's all superficial. or is it? It's burning that metal. This is metal, but we talked about your body being a conductor, right? I want everybody to grab their arm right here. Grab your arm and squish it. Does it kind of feel like a pickle? So we've got our pickle set up, and our pickle is going to simulate the flow of electricity inside your body. You can see the light, you can see the steam. So all of those sparks that you had on the outside of this trailer, now that is all inside your body. So you saw all of that heat. All of those sparks that were outside were now inside. All of that black inside your body is not going to be good for it. That's where you're going to have an injury. That's where you're going to get burnt. So it's not just the outside heat, it's the inside heat caused from that flow, that current flow, that conductor that your body just became. We're going to use our lazy lineman. He's going to demonstrate how electricity can flow clear through your whole body, not just a small amount. We're going to light up a light bulb using his body. Your body can be a very good conductor. We don't ever want that to happen.
Just like our overhead power lines, like behind me, we have underground power lines which we bury in the ground. This is a primary underground power line. It has a conductor. It has an insulation, a pink core around the conductor that insulates it from the ground. We have a semicon, a concentric neutral, which is our neutral return, and then we have a protective sheath covering that. It usually is black with a red stripe. If you ever see any of this dug up or sticking out of the ground, we don't want to go near it. You don't want to touch it. Don't go investigate it. Call Fall River Electric. We will secure the area. We will make it safe.
So now we're going to show you our 7,000 volt system. You saw how hot that was. You saw the burn of the wire. You saw the burn of the pickle. But now we're going to show you 7,000 volts. As always, I'm using my special insulated tools to keep myself from being the conductor. That arc was the result of a direct fault to shorten the line, and what it is, it's an early release of that electricity. It's not supposed to be that way, and it's such a bright blue flame. It's so hot that it's actually burning the atoms in the air. It's burning air molecules. That's why it's a pretty blue flame.
Another thing we discuss in our demos is kite flying. This should always be done in an open area, a field of some kind, away from power lines. Power lines are very dangerous with kites and strings because that string is essentially a conductor. If you're flying a kite and you happen to have it go down and it's going for a power line, you want to let go of your kite string and your ball of string before it hits the power line.
Say you flew your kite into the line, you saw that heat, you saw that burn. Even though it's just a string, all of that energy still flowed through your body if you're touching that string. So if you ever get a kite up in the air, up on those power lines, stay away from it, give us a call, and we'll come out and make sure it's safe. Kites aren't the only thing that can get up high close to those lines. Sometimes we plant trees that are too close to the power lines, or we've got trees growing in our right-of-way, which is the space that our lines are allowed to be in, that are too tall or too close to those lines. And those trees can pose a huge hazard. A tree can be just as good of a conductor as that kite string or as a wire under the right circumstances. We've shown you that a few other things besides wires can be conductors. We've shown you kites and we've shown you trees, but what's the most important thing we don't want to be a conductor? It's our bodies. We're going to show you the importance of having that protector. We're going to show you the importance of keeping holes out of that glove. So our lazy lineman's up there working, and he's touching stuff, and you can see his glove's working for now. But when he grabs something with that hole, you can see that flow of electricity through his body was pretty destructive. And if you look, This hot dog's completely burnt. Imagine if that was your arm. Imagine if that was your finger. Any part of your body completely burnt like that. Be a pretty life-changing injury. So we burned the hot dog, and we use that to simulate muscle tissue or other tissues in your body. But we've also got organs inside. We've got other parts of tissue that have a different structure with a surrounding shell or a surrounding skin. So we're gonna do an orange to simulate another part of your body. Same lazy lineman, same hole in his glove. You saw the light that was inside. Much more intense at the 7,000 volts level. This orange is hot. Imagine that black inside your internal organs. But your hard hat also protects you from electrical flow. But our lazy lineman today, he decided he wasn't going to wear his. I think he's about to have a bad day. We never want you to climb a tree that's close to a power line or touch a tree that's leaning on the power line. We've shown you that that can be dangerous. If you fly your kite too close to the line, stay away. Don't ever stick anything up close to those lines. They can always be a hazard. If you ever see a line that's down, as we've shown you, you can't see the difference between an energized line or a de-energized line. So we need us to come out and check it out. Always stay away from those lines. The green boxes, even though they look cool and they're fun to stand on, stay away from them. There's just as much hazard in those boxes as there is in an overhead line. And if you see one that's open, call Fall River Electric and we'll come out and check it out. Is there any questions about anything that we've covered today that you want to go over?
Why does electricity want to reach the ground?
Electricity is always trying to go to the ground because of the electrical theory of a circuit. That electricity flows out on those wires, it gets used up at your house, and then it comes back in through those same wires. It comes back through that neutral wire to make a full circuit.
If electricity can be so hot, then how can the power lines hold all the heat?
Those wires are specifically made for the electricity to be on that wire and stay there, where the insulators are made to keep it on the wires, to keep it from coming down into the ground where we don't want it.
Why do birds not get shocked when they sit on the power line?
That's a good question for Jeremy to answer.
They're safe on there is because they become what we call the same potential as that conductor. As long as they don't touch another wire or come in contact with the ground, they are fine. Power flows evenly through their bodies. Commonly asked as a question, is power lines on a vehicle? If you're in an accident and a power line is on a vehicle, we ask you to stay in the vehicle. Your safest place is in the vehicle. If you have to get out of the vehicle, if there is fire or immediate danger to your life that you have to get out of the vehicle, we ask you to open the door, stand in the doorway, and we want you to jump free from the car as far as you can with both feet together.
Propane is something that is used by millions of people. It's a very safe commodity, but it can be dangerous if it's mistreated. How many of you have a propane tank in your yard? It could be as much as 16 foot long, 4 foot in diameter, or it could be as small as the cylinder on your barbecue grill. It's important to, when you're around that, to be safe. The interesting thing about propane, it can do two things to you. It can either freeze you or it can burn you. And so you have to be careful with that. Once it turns into a vapor, then it is flammable. Propane can get very hot. If you get a flash from the propane, You can get a flash burn. The other thing that propane can do, if it gets into an area and it starts to expand and it finds an ignition source, it can explode and damage can happen there. The thing you need to remember when it's done right is probably one of the safest things that you have, because it is contained within a tank. What we do is we dig the trench, and generally the trench is 12 to 18 inches below the ground. We put a trace wire in so that we can find that on a later basis. We also put in a poly line because we feel that the poly line will last longer. Propane is a little corrosive, and so it won't eat the inside of the line, and the outside is protected. You might have a regulator on the side of your house to regulate the pressure down, and we encourage you not to climb on that. Don't bump into it, do things of that nature. You need to be careful on the tanks. You don't want to crawl on the tanks for fear that you'll break a line and let it leak out, and then you have a potential problem. If you smell that, that is the perfume of propane.
Oh, like sniff it, like put it up your nose.
The smell of propane, it has kind of a sulfury smell. Propane in its natural state has no odor, and so they put ethyl mercaptan in for the odor so that you can smell it and make sure that you can tell if there's a leak. Propane can be dangerous. Propane, as it burns, it can give off CO2, and so you want to be careful that you put smoke detectors and CO2 detectors in your home. If you smell propane, contact an adult. Adults, contact your propane provider or the fire department.
Thank you for your attention to this important safety demonstration. We hope that you would share this with everyone you know, especially your family and small children. These concepts are important to you and your safety. Again, energy improves our life and increases our standard of living, and we just need to be aware of our surroundings and take safe practices. If you have questions or need additional information, you can call us at Fall River Rural Electric Cooperative or go online at www.fallriverelectric.com, and we have additional materials and information for your use there. Thank you so much.